I guess we're
Yeah.
sort of called to order at 6:44.
Do you want to maybe just note that we're not a quorum, like call to
Yeah,
order
not,
without a quorum?
yeah, note that we're not at a quorum, and are we recording this for
Notes and
the
video.
transcript?
Mhm.
We're not in decision-making mode, but we can certainly
Yeah,
take in information.
hopefully we will get a quorum as we go. We can hear this report and let Ivan get on with her evening.
I'm ready to go if you guys are.
Yeah. Well, our first is, I assume do we have a public comment? Anyone else who's here?
Yep, and we received no public
And
comment.
you received none. So yes, we can go right to pipe on to you. Take it away.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Paivan Lukumhan. I have been the festival director for the Green Mountain Film Festival since ORCA had decided to take it on as a project. And so our first one after the pandemic was 2024. Then we did last year, 2025, and then we just completed the 2026. So I sort of set up this report just to kind of do a much more of an overview over the 3 years than has been. So we're not in the weeds with the last time I presented a report was after the 2024 one that had a lot of like details, but this one maybe will help us to learn about the festival going forward. And I think I can breeze through it pretty quickly, and maybe we can take questions at the end if you're interested. Okay, Green Mountain Film Festival. Um, I haven't done a slide for you for 2025, so I just wanted to share that for the last 2 years, we've had major support from the Norman J. and Doris Fisher Foundation, which was what allowed us to really carry on the last 2 years. And we've also carried on the tradition of having unique original art commissioned for our posters. So we had Montpelier resident Taylor McNeely for 2025 and Heinsberg resident and artist Renee Greenlee for 2026. And this is the crew. Ali Rude is a filmmaker who presented Prickly Mountain, My Design Build Life, two shows in March that were sold out, and one of them was for the high school students. And they got a really great Q&A out of that. So we expanded our group over the last couple of years with the addition of Katie Gorson, who was doing social media for us because that was something Christopher Wiersma was doing. Emma Garrison leading the special projects and volunteer coordination, and Joe Moser leading our publicity because Joe and Emma's roles had been mine in 2024, and so it's really greatly expanded our capacity. So just an overview of 2025 to 2026. We normally start in about September, October to get planning. Christopher and I co-led the team in 2020 for the 2025 festival, and we just realized that that wasn't working out. And so, with the 2026 festival, I was the lead for director. Anyway, the big deal for 2025 was we didn't know if we were going to have a festival because it took us so long to get our to get the major funding we needed to ensure that it was going to happen. But we did it. That happened in January, so it was pretty tense. We scaled it down to a 3-day festival, which was what we could do. And the money was coming in at that point, so we were able to have a little bit of a cushion to get us on a good start for 2026. The 2026 festival was our 25th actual festival, if you count all the active festivals and not the blank years between. So that gave us a really good theme going forward, and we really leaned into the theme of community, which everyone loved. Major partnership this year was with The Bridge, the Montpelier biweekly newsletter, and they were amazing in giving us better visibility than we could have had on our own, and just being a really, really great partner. And by all accounts, we feel like we put on the best festival of the three so far. So, and I think we're all committed to coming back again for 2027, as far as I know. So, 2025 was also tense because President Trump was coming in and just heightened political environment. And the films that we ended up programming were also.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Who is frozen?
I was curious what she was gonna say next. I was like.
No, I think
Yeah.
so.
Height of the.
I'm gonna just switch networks for a second to see if it.
Continuing with, um,
Hi, Vaughn.
yeah.
Lost connection. So I think the last part we heard was security, right?
Oh, okay. I can go back to that. Um, yeah, so security, because everything was really tense coming out of the elections, and we had some high-profile movies that were had some pretty sensitive topics. We worked with a local volunteer de-escalation team to help us even just ushering in our speakers and providing eyes in our programs, and made a connection with with the Montpelier Police Department, did walkthroughs and stuff like that to ensure people's safety. Our non-film programs included were we let's see, a 25th anniversary party with Lost Nation Theater, and continued to have panels with Vermont Production Collective and do Film Slam this past year and stuff like that. So this past year, or this past March, just a few months ago, the Crumb Factory didn't have it in them to participate with us this year to do the dance parties that people really loved. So we took it on ourselves to do parties both Thursday. So we had the kickoff Thursday. We had the gala on Friday, and then we had on Friday we also did the goth night party. So um, and then, like I said, the partnership with the Bridge was amazing. They printed the program as an insert in their newspaper, and that got us like 11,000 programs out there in the community, and they're all over Washington, Orange County. So that really extended our reach because we couldn't have done that personally. And then we got to use their new hub, their new office on East State Street as our festival hub. So that was great. I think everybody felt good about that. So 2025, like I said, there were financial challenges. Some of that was also exacerbated just by having the 2 years of flood recovery and feeling very stagnant in our donor base, having the political elections affect our fundraising as well. And then challenges in operations are just a lot of it was ticket selling, whether it was online or in person, uh, and so we're still working that one out. But 2025 was great because we did have high profile movies that really helped us to sell out quite a lot. And I feel like we made more inroads with the local film goers and folks in the industry wanting to come and take part. So because it was a 3-day festival in 2025, we did have a good bank balance coming out of it. We did get that new funder relationship who renewed it in 2026. And it was our first year with a post-festival survey, which I will give some highlights from in a future slide here. So 2026 is the 25th festival theme, which was really great. That helped us to get the press because we're going back to the same people for the same like, hey, we're having another festival, so it's really good to have another angle. And we brought back Wick Rinston and some of the old folks, and old, I meant like from the previous iterations, especially for our gala. And Rick had a special Godzilla program that he did and had a little speech at the gala. So that was nice. Um, and like I said, the Bridge partnership was great. They had, I think, like three articles in the newspaper for the festival. One of them was like 11 movies not to miss. One of them was like just a sort of general preview, interviewing Sam and me. And then there was one other one, which was really generous of them to do. So, and I feel like that got us a lot of eyeballs. We still have funds in the bank, even though we took a little bit of a loss. We're always talking about doing some off-season programming, but I think we're so spent after the festival is over that that has not come to fruition. And the things that we're learning right now is we still need to figure out our funding situation and deepen our partnerships with downtown businesses now that I feel like they are more in a recovery mode or at least a little more stabilized. And the need to foster nightlife in Montpelier throughout the year because we are a nightlife activity. I know Chad went to the last night Montpelier nightlife meeting that's called by Montpelier Live. I've been going there to represent the film festival as well. It's in our best interest to make sure that people are going to the movies throughout the year so that we've already trained that behavior so that they can come to our festival. So it's been pretty steady that over 80% of our audience is in state, and the majority of that in state is here in the capital region. We want to be able to support families. We keep getting that feedback. So that's something that we're going to keep figuring out. We do obviously have a limited capacity with staff and volunteers, so we're going to try to continue to expand the volunteer base. Although I'm one person and it's really hard to manage when the teams just get really, really big. So some of that is sort of structural, operational, we have to figure out. Um, I'm always thinking about what kind of income generation we could do. On your advice from last time, I did pursue and make an LLC to acquire the trademark, which I haven't done yet because I'm just a little busy with this and I didn't want to spend extra money if I could help it. It's still on my list of things to do, but now that I have the business, I'm just wondering if there's other ways that we can do some business activity that can help to support the festival in the long run. So that's something that I'm always open to talking about and seeing if there's something that we can do. Um, so there's that. I know I'm talking really fast. I'm sorry. So the challenges, like I'm saying, is the burnout that is potential. I'm not saying that any of us are, because I think we're all in for 2027. But because it's seasonal work, it overlaps with our other work. So there's not a lot of rest time. And I want to make sure that we as the organizing team are sustained, and also the audience is also feeling sustained as well and not getting burnt out on or tapped out in terms of donations or activities that we provide. Sustainability is always a thing, financial sustainability and operationally. Even though we have money in the bank account, it's not enough. Because as you'll see, it costs quite a lot to run the festival. And costs are rising all over the place. And we don't have some of that institutional support that other film festivals do. So we have to operate in a kind of a different manner. And then I'm also just thinking about we just celebrated our 25th. So are we going to keep going to 50 or what kind of lasting impact do we want to have on Montpelier? Because that's where I feel like I get really charged up is when I can feel like there's there's like more, uh, there's a lot that Montpelier is getting out of this that is beyond just a film festival, you know. So I really want to, I'm kind of in that mode of like legacy building at this point. It's not a challenge, but it's something I think it's more of a personal challenge for me. Um, oh, never mind that text down there. I didn't erase that from the last slide. So, audience survey, these are just some highlights. We asked a lot of really detailed questions, but from 2025, which was the second year that we produced this, we did see a pretty even spread of folks being like, yeah, this is my first time or second time. So they're new to the festival from when we assumed ownership of it, to folks who've been here 3 to 5 years or beyond. So folks that are legacy audience who are coming back now and entrusting us with this program. So that was really good to know that we are actually reaching newer audience members as well in the mix. And that word of mouth works really well. Email newsletters worked really well. And also co-promotions with the Savoy, the Capitol, and Montpelier Live have been really successful in helping us to reach all of those folks. And they're also telling us that they come because they want to support the festival, and that the timing also works for them, which was great to hear. And also, primarily, the film selection is what's convincing them to come. So, the work that the screening committee and Sam Can, who's the festival programmer, is doing is like key to helping us reach this audience and keep them coming back. And 80% of our respondents enthusiastically recommend the festival, and that 70% indicate that a desire to support the festival factored into their participation. So even if they didn't really care for the movies, they just wanted to support the effort, which was good to hear. So we can take a 3-year look back. And look at tickets sold. These numbers that are on the side on the left hand of the grid, those are dollar amounts. I couldn't figure out how to get Canva to do dollar amounts, but so you can see that we're trending up on all of the revenue sources, and the main ones that we're keeping track of are tickets sold, which is a finite amount of tickets because we only have a certain number of seats. Sponsorship, which could be unlimited because we can always invent a new sponsorship tier. It's a little finite in that there's only so many businesses we can tap. And then donations, which come from our community, large and small. Um, and then, so the budget comparison. So this was the income sources that I just showed you. And then we're going to look at, you can see we're at like sponsorship is about, oh, I think I'm missing some zeros on the tickets sold. Sorry. So tickets sold for 2026, it's just over $20,000. And then in 2026, sponsorships was just under 50. So you can see it's the sponsorships is like twice the ticket amount, and then donations are kind of hovering steady around $10,000, $12,000. Um, and then so the cost of the festivals, so the first year was super expensive. We didn't know everything that we were doing, and we also had to make up for a lot of lost time. Uh, so, uh, and then 2025 was a 3-year festival, and we didn't do our big gala because we just didn't have the money. Um, and then 2026, I feel this was last March, that like we kind of figured things out mostly. So programming is always going to be around 40 to 55% of the cost. Staffing is going to be around like 20-30% of the cost, and marketing is anywhere between 11-15% of the cost. Um, Little testimonials. I'll let you have a few minutes to look that over. Marco Harrison did great in giving us a preview for 7 days. Hazel is one of the security volunteers. Araya has been coming to the festival for a couple of years. Philip had a short film that played in 2025. and also referred a couple of other filmmakers to us in 2026. So he was here in spirit for 2026. And that's it. That's the show. Questions?
Ivan, did we show any films that were part of the Made Here in Vermont filmmakers? The Made Here
Uh,
group?
that's a good question. I don't actually keep track of it. I want to say that Jesse Kreitzer's one. The maple syrup one was, but I can't remember. Chad, do you remember?
I think Jesse's did play Ed Made here also, but I don't feel like there was very much overlap, if I remember correctly.
Uh,
Made here is what it was the month after Green Mountain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're a little bit close, and so both of the festivals are a little bit hesitant to program the same things, I think. Um,
Yeah,
I
but
don't.
our festival doesn't have it has different requirements for qualifications, whereas Made Here obviously has other qualifications.
mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Does this do we as the board need to be thinking the bridge more than just having you thank them? It seems
I
like they were really a big part of it.
They were huge. Yeah, it was really amazing how much they gave. So basically they gave us about $10,000 in kind worth of their services. Uh, which is quite a lot. Yeah.
And do they seem satisfied, the bridge, that
They were.
what happened?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of their effort to be out in the community more and also to improve or beef up their arts coverage. So it helped them on a number of levels. But so for them, it kind of seemed like a public service to be able to have the insertion of the program, excuse me, in their newspaper. And
Right.
so that they like could, so whenever I was telling folks to go find the program, I would say go and pick up a copy of the bridge. So it's like free advertising for them also,
Hmm.
and they also loved the feel good arts aspect of it. I think that worked out. And then also, since they had just moved to their office in 5 East State Street, it was a way for folks to know about them. They weren't operating because it was on the weekend, so we weren't, interfering with their business or anything. So it worked out for all of us.
Right.
Where were were the dance parties this for the last one at the Arts Hub? I'm trying to remember. Or
Yeah, and we only just did one. And yeah, so at the Montpelier Performing Arts Hub, on the college campus there, we did that on the Friday the 13th, and that was also coinciding. We got a group of folks who weren't there we have some folks who are there for the festival, but we also had a group of folks who are there just for the dance, because the DJ already had their own following. They had been playing at Bent Nails on a monthly basis, but then Bent Nails at that time had moved from Montpelier and hadn't really gotten established yet in Middlesex. And so this goth party that he'd been running on a monthly basis just didn't have a home. And so it was kind of nice to be able to provide that and also have an intersection with another group of folks that we don't actually get to see yet. So and we made money on it, which was surprising. We just took $5 at the door. Um, so it was pretty easy.
and are there any key things that stand out to you as ways that like ORCA and Green Mountain Film Festival can collaborate more or better?
Yeah, I keep getting the question like, oh yeah, we'd like a little bit more visibility from ORCA, but I'm just like, well, what do you guys want? I feel like there is I don't yet know exactly what your goals and aims are, and if we just maybe had more of a conversation about that, or give me some
Hmm.
documentation or whatever, that we can think about what that could be. Chad, I've come up with ideas all the time, and I'm running pitching ideas to whoever I feel like is a good partner. I love that Carlos continues to do the film slam. People really do like that aspect, and he's able to run with it, and that we can present that as sponsored by Orca Media. Um, and I know that in 2024, we had a few live broadcasts, like the Farming While Black one, and a couple of other ones that were live. And 2025, we did not have any live broadcasts. We had you all there to record some of the programs and then rebroadcast that later. Um, and that might have just been due to our whole last minute replanning. And in 2026, I believe that we did, you guys had come to film some things that were for broadcast later. So those are great. I'm um, and I don't know what else you all wanted. Like I'm happy to include anything else if like there's a workshop that you all want to do, or like how do you make your own mini 1 minute movie thing, or just have like a free camera day or whatever. I'm hesitant because I'm always a busy person to ask somebody else to do something in addition to what they're already doing. So I would love to hear some ideas if you guys have anything and you're just like, oh, can the Green Mountain Film Festival, can we do something together? Like I'm totally open to that.
I think maybe what would be helpful is if I know that Zach and I get busy, but when you're doing some of your planning meetings, maybe if we just, because I think we don't know what's exactly happening, so we can't kind of brainstorm on our end to see how we might fit into your theme for the year. So
Yeah.
it may be that we just need to try to coordinate to see if we can pop in when you're doing stuff or planning, that we could be like, okay, now we know what the theme is and what we can think of how we could be a part of it.
Sure.
Um, in terms of the live streams, I think we are happy to do the live streams. We just don't know which pieces you would want live streamed. So, I mean, we couldn't do
Okay.
all of them. And it's also
Yeah.
a notion of permission. So if like the filmmakers don't want to necessarily be live streamed for whatever reason. So we kind of leave it to the organizers to determine who's okay with being live streamed. And I think last year, or the 2026, we did the one in the Lost Nation Theater. I think opening night, or not
Oh,
sure.
I think
So we did
Friday.
one event live, but I think we kind of just were leaving it up to you folks to see if you wanted us to do anything live, and we could try to do what we can. So I think that piece also, if you felt like the live stream part was something that was attractive for the festival, we're happy to try to work with you on what capacity we have.
Yeah, we'll add that to our conversations more. I know this past one, there was a photography permission that was like the performers told us last minute there's like no photography, and we're just like, oh, great, okay. Wish you could have told us. But okay, that's all helpful. And we once we start meeting regularly, it's usually around December to January. That's when our planning meetings are pretty regular, but also it's really helpful to start earlier in the planning process if you guys have something that you want to run with or you want us to seriously consider, because it takes time to get things all organized.
Hi, Van,
That's,
I went to, excuse me,
yeah, go ahead.
I went to the Savoy to see the Amy Goodman film Steal This Story.
Yeah.
And I wanted to steal the story and I couldn't find anybody. Amy didn't show up. and the guy in in the film booth didn't show up. So I wanted to steal the film. Is there any way that anything from Green Mountain Film Festival can be stolen? Me
Well,
copied, traded, turned into something that we could have in our own home.
the physical program is what folks have been collecting, and the posters is what folks have been collecting. If they are looking for mementos, we also have badges now and t-shirts. In terms of the actual films, these days they are transmitted digitally, and there's a pretty secure process for that to prevent pirating and all that kind of stuff. So there's usually no actual thing to
Okay, well,
take.
thank you.
Yeah.
You have to steal something else, Dave.
Hi, Vaughn, you were talking about, like sustaining nightlife in Montpelier throughout the year
Yeah.
and maybe mini events, ORCA or not collabs. What all have you been thinking on that? That's kind of intriguing.
I've been going to these meetings, and it's mostly about right now trying to market nightlife and help people to understand that Montpelier is open and that there are actually a lot of cultural offerings. For me, I think it's really for the festival. I think it's really important to have people just continue going to the movies, and finding that a worthwhile experience. And sometimes, if I'm going to the movies with friends, we like to hang out and get a beer beforehand or go have dinner first. So nightlife is kind of integrated. It's not just like a one activity kind of thing. And so I kind of signed up for the marketing subgroup of that. So to just help folks to have Montpelier as a top of mind place that they could go if they're looking for some entertainment. In terms of what the Green Mountain Film Festival can do, I'm not sure that we have capacity to do much else, unless we get a proposal that someone wants to throw at us and that we get excited about, um, just because of the nature of the seasonality of the festival.
It's actually how I ended up getting pulled into the committee as well. As I was talking with Katie from Montpelier Live, and that she was saying, "Oh, we're having trouble people knowing about this and this and this going on." And I was like, "Well, I happen to know some people with cameras."
Yeah, yeah.
And so through that conversation, a couple different things she was talking about. I was like, well, this is something that we could put on ORCA. We could live stream this or put it up afterward. And she's like, oh yeah, that's actually a good idea. So I'm attending those meetings now. So hoping something will come out of that. Even if it's like broadcasting a music performance or something like that. It's just like what's going on, letting people know that hey, people are actually downtown now after 6 p.m.
Stuff's going on.
Yeah, at least until 9.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions for Jen?
Sorry. So, on one of the slides, you talked about for the 2026, like the Savoy future is a concern, like what happens if the Savoy, because I was gonna, like, is it most of the, or not most, but a lot of the films are there. So if it is not there, is there another location, or is it just kind of like you'll reduce, and I guess how much of the future is at risk?
I think it's more, well, okay. We are very lucky in Montpelier. We have 2 movie theaters. We have a total of 8 screens, I believe. No, 7 screens. And we only use 3 of them for the festival. So if the Savoy no longer is operational as a movie theater and we can't use them, we can just program the Capitol. And I feel confident saying that because we have had 3 years working with them and establishing that relationship, and they would love to have as many movies as we can give them. And to just be as integrated with the film festival as we can. So we're trying to treat them equally, and give both a good selection of movies and one of the things that we have been hearing and they have been hearing is that folks have been coming to the festival at those locations who have actually never stepped foot in those locations before, even though they like to go watch movies at the other location, you know, so everyone's got their sort of, you know, favorite movie theater and they just don't go to the other one. And so this has actually helped them to cross-pollinate a little bit. So in terms of the festival itself, as long as both of them don't go under, it's fine. The concern with the Savoy has always been like they seem a little bit more tenuous and in terms of financially keeping afloat. And the film festival started at the Savoy, and people love that the film festival is still at the Savoy. And we want to keep maintaining that relationship as much as possible. So. And I know that the Savoy has gone through a number of owners since the film festival has started, and it's survived, but you just never know. And it's kind of out of our hands. If there was something that we could do to actually um, have some matter of control over that, I'd love to hear about it. But right now, it's really up to the folks that are managing that place. So it's always a concern because every year we just have to go, and I sometimes feel like I'm begging James to be like, "Will you please work with us again?" You know, we all love the relationship. We all love what the film festival does for the Savoy, and the Savoy does for the film festival. It just always seems to be like, is this going to happen again this year?
Sorry, would the festival look different just because you have the two theaters on both ends, and so you have traffic going back and forth? I would imagine that, so then it encompasses the entire downtown. But if the Savoy fell out, would it end up just being like pretty much like the State Street because there would be no purpose for the other folks?
I wouldn't say that necessarily because the team that we have right now, with me and Teresa and Jolinda and Emma, and we're all really committed to downtown Montpelier. And that's why we have so many partnerships and even non-film things because we want to spread the love around. There's downtown Montpelier as a campus is really nice. And there are things that we can do. Like one of the reasons why we had the gala at Lost Nation Theater instead of having it at the chapel is because we wanted to use another space. And so that we can have, give people another place to go in downtown. If we could program even more non-film things, we would use we had other places that were open to us. We used other places also for some of our private events. We had like screeners brunch and visiting filmmakers. We had a dinner for them. It's not listed on the program, but it's something that we do as part of the festival that, you know, took place at the Loft. So we didn't advertise that, but that's us also using another aspect of downtown. So we are going to try to spread it around. We don't want to just, you know, have be insular. It may end up if we get into a place like we did last year in 2025 with a very limited budget that we will have to pare down to the essentials. But I don't want us to get into that place. It's in everyone's benefit to use as much of downtown as possible. That said, also, we are really trying to prioritize having movies in the movie theaters. Pretty much all of those movies were intended to be viewed and screened in actual movie theaters, and it's really a point of pride for some folks who, especially if they're local and this is like their first movie or whatever, to have it actually be screened in a real movie theater is it, it really honors the film and the art, and so we want to do that. So that's why we haven't used Lost Nation Theater or the library or other places as screening rooms because we really want to get people into the theater. But those other venues can be used for other things.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see you would be willing to come up the hill. The Performing Arts Hub being an interesting space, possibly for non-film or more audience engaged sort of events, would be interesting. Yeah, I thought last year's festival was great. I really enjoyed it personally. I managed to not say anything offensive when I was doing my panel discussion, which I try and set a really low bar for success.
One of the things that's going on in the state is the whole thing about nectars and the music and everything that started there.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether there's going to be a film about the history of nectar and the music that's all connected with it. And if that's true, that could be one of the linchpins for the next Green Mountain Film Festival.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me like something like that Katie Trouts would want to do some version of celebrating the music and experience of nectars,
Mm.
in any way possible. And film might be the way to do it. Film with live music.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be
Just
great to
it's
have.
just something else that's going on in the state.
Yeah, it'd be great to have another music and live music and film component. We did that in 2024 with the Montpelier Chamber Orchestra, which was really nice. Yeah, so our submission window is generally December through like mid-January, and we're only considering finished films. So if films are finished and ready to submit during that window, we'd be happy to consider them. The other thing that I'm realizing that I didn't put as a challenge going forward that I think we are going to have to think about long term is that we've been really lucky to be partnering with Greenway Institute to house our visiting filmmakers and our volunteers during the festival. And I know that that's probably going to come to an end at some point when they are full up with students in their dorms. And so, and in addition to that, we also have some volunteer housing. We make use of some Airbnbs and some donated rooms. So that's just coming down the pike. At some point, we have to have a new plan for housing those visitors.
Thank you, Paibon. I think unless anyone has anything else pressing, I think we should probably let you get out of here and move on the agenda. Okay.
Just like the last bit about the trademark and whether, I know that you mentioned the LLC is in process. And so I don't know if you wanted to, I know that we're waiting for the festival to end. So
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe somewhere down the line, if we just want to like pencil in another conversation about the trademark, or if there's any updates or what you need, or.
I think I have enough from you all for that. I have established the LLC for the purpose of obtaining the trademark, and it's just on me to do it. And I was waiting till the festival was over and to make sure that we had enough money in the bank account to pay the lawyer to do it. So that's where we are. If you're not in a rush, I'm just gonna keep working on that, and I'll let you know if there are.
Thank you very much for all you've done. It's really wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for supporting us. It's been wonderful to be able to have ORCA behind us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I think we have a quorum now, unless we've
good.
we had Jessica and CJ join.
All right.
So we should move on to, I believe, Jen, you realize that this is actually our meeting when we're supposed to vote on officers.
Mhm.
I think that I'm trying to remember what we agreed with Carlos about the secretary position.
He's not
here, so
I think the
I
wrong
do
one.
think that he's for 2 years has said he doesn't want to, but has been kind of not necessarily forced, but fallen into it. So I do know that he has mentioned that he didn't want to do, if there was someone else that could do the secretary, he would, I think, be.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I couldn't remember if we made a deal. Or there was at one point where he and I were switching back, and we were like, we'll switch back and forth. But then I got bumped into chair. So I don't remember.
He's like, Pat is not here, so
Yeah,
we're
Pat's
going
not here,
to assigning position or officers to those who don't make it to the meeting.
Yeah, so I guess we do, what is this is my first time doing this one. We have to open the floor for nominations.
That sounds right. I mean, I'll nominate Carlos to continue as secretary. If that's wrong. But, he's our present one, right?
Mhm.
Yes, I know he's been using the AI transcription that has made it a bit easier.
I think there's been years where we've said, like nominate, I so move to nominate all incumbents. Like that has been a very quick, painless way, but maybe too quick and painless. I don't know if there's.
You want some pain?
Well, just like, are there,
Yeah.
are there people vying for the chair? Is there? But I'm happy with the incumbent slate, just personally.
Yeah, this open for discussion. Anyone who has any input or nominations, or if we want to, Michael has mentioned that in the past that we have just nominated the incumbents to continue in the positions. I'm all for quick and painless personally.
Same.
And I guess CJ is also, CJ, are you still staying sane as treasurer? Muted though.
Right. Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
Thanks for unmuting.
So do you move to,
Yeah, I will now make an motion to nominate all incumbents to remain in their positions and continue on in their duties as they've been so responsible in executing them.
I'll second that motion.
okay, any further discussion? Then I guess we can vote on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Oh.
Wait.
And any opposed? All right, there we go. Unanimous.
Carlos.
Yeah, sorry, Carlos.
Sorry, Carlos. Hope you'll forgive us.
Who's gonna let Carlos know? Okay, great. That's caught us up maybe on the schedule.
Pen in there, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that I've been meaning, when I took over chair, I was gonna like check in with everyone and get like a status update on like how everyone felt about board performance and where we thought we could be doing better. I think I may have to make like a Google form and just send it to people so I can get some like offline responses as opposed to trying to pin down a bunch of like coffee meetings, just because everyone's so busy. And just to crowdsource some ideas from people. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to think about adding another person or two. I know this has come up a few times, and then but we're not sure exactly where and who. But it seems like it would help.
We do 2 board spots.
We have 2 spots. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where geographically are we most light? We have 2 in Randolph.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Montpelier, though,
We're
right?
Montpelier heavy.
Where's our other area? Waterbury?
Rochester.
It's like, I don't know that, I guess we could look for Rochester.
Waterbury and Rochester.
It's like,
Montpelier is our most eastern. We don't go any further east than East Montpelier, do we?
East, where, I don't think so.
Not Plainfield.
Not Plainfield. Very.
Callis?
Callis.
Callis is home. Are we on strategic planning update?
Yeah, I guess we can move to this.
Right.
That, I think we accidentally jumped to the next thing. Let's officially move to the strategic planning update.
Okay. So with the alternate revenue stream, so I continue to meet with Teresa and Stacy. We have another meeting scheduled, I think the end of this week. But so we talked, like I had a meeting right after our board meeting last time about like the sponsoring, getting sponsors for the high school graduations, so that we were going to try to do a proof of concept. And so we had a conversation then about like getting sponsors and what the graduation kind of looks like in terms of like the production and what I think we looked at previous graduations that we did so that they can see how the production looks. And then we talked about, like, you know, we had some concerts coming up and whether like we wanted to try to tap sponsors for those so that their ad would be running at the middle school concert that was a week or so before the graduation, so that if that also was another area that we could do, so it kind of made sense that people could, when they were looking at the concerts, that they'd be like, oh, Sarducci's, and then it would also kind of like, we could give them and be like, okay, you could also get the graduation. So there was this, and then I think a few weeks in, probably sometime in May, like I had a follow up with Teresa, and she had sent over a flyer about like students and like doing a clip package where it's like we could, like the parents could pay a certain amount of money to get their kids' portion of the video. So like what we would do is like the graduation, like the speeches, and then like their kid goes in. So it's a very like personalized bit of the graduation. So that was kind of what that flyer was looking at, and it wouldn't be for this year's, but it would have been for next year's. But it was also kind of like, you know, something we could talk to the parents group and say, you know, do you want to like do some sort of like fundraising with it, and we could, you know, like they could get a portion of what our fee was. So that's where I realized that somewhere that conversation about getting sponsors had kind of shifted or twisted instead of like just getting like sponsors from Sarducci's or whatever. So I think we reorganized it. Now it's like, you know, we're actually looking for sponsors for the event and not necessarily, I mean, the clip package would be a good thing to do and probably easy. Like it almost feels like school pictures type feel to it. And that could be something next year that we do kind of say, yeah, we could push that out there so that people can get that like little bit of clip. And so I think it was a little late in getting sponsors because I was waiting for them to come with the package for what they would go out to the businesses, and then it was something different. So there was that hiccup. And then, so she did get a sponsorship from Sarducci's for $300 for 3 graduations. I think initially we had talked about like there was 7 graduations that like promotions, like the middle school promotions and things like that we could do. But she was able to get us $300 for 3 graduations. And I don't know if people watched the graduations, but we put up a plaque at the beginning that said, you know, congratulations, class of 2026, and then at the end. So there wasn't anything underneath. And I think one of the things that Teresa did mention was like, because we can't do like, we can't put any text that says, that has a call to action. So we couldn't put on there like, mention graduation at Sarducci's for 10% off. And so I think the first version that they had sent in about what the logo could look like was to do that offer. And I said, we can't do anything like that. And I think that she came back and said, you know, the Sarducci's folks, they still sponsored us, but they were really interested in if they could have like some sort of offer that was listed. And I think that's where she was saying, you know, that's something, and I don't think we can make those changes, but how do we, you know, we might need to not rethink, but brainstorm on how that goodwill, like, you know, you just, like, we can't offer you any type of call to action, but that goodwill, we want to really kind of promote that says, you know, your friends versus like, here's an offer. So I think that was something that we came out of, or I noticed that it's like, okay, we need to try to figure out how to make it more attractive to the sponsors, that since we can offer the call to action. And I think the other thing was the numbers increased. So we did get a lot more traffic. So I think that's the one thing that we could kind of push out. I think it's like, how many years have you done the live stream? Maybe like, so
Sure, on Montpelier since I've always.
live
since I've been
stream.
here. Yeah, I don't think we live streamed Randolph till like after COVID.
So I think like U32's numbers increased like about like 200%. So like it was a huge number.
Oh, wow.
That, and so, and it could be also that there's more like people talking about like, you know, watch the live stream. So it got more, I think it feels maybe more standard since we do their concerts. So maybe they're just used to always knowing that there's a live stream versus before, like it was maybe more special. So I don't know if that also, I mean, we could do, it might make sense to do a survey to the schools to say, hey, how, you know, how are you liking the live stream service? But the numbers did increase, and like Montpelier High increased by like 39%, but it was U32 that the number of views definitely was much higher. So, and that's something that we could leverage to the community, like the businesses saying, you know, we have a ton of people watching. So, but it also, I think they were thinking of putting like a lower third, and I did push back of like, and we looked at Brattleboro's local event sponsorship, and it was just at the beginning and at the end. Mm-hmm. So I think in terms of proof of concept, I think we could probably do it again, and it may be that we try to figure out more events that could be sponsored. So like the graduations were nice and easy because everyone's thinking about graduations. And I did ask her about July 3rd, but she didn't think there was enough time to really try to get sponsors for the July 3rd. And it may be that it's just a conversation that maybe we have with Montpelier Live about, hey, could you kick us some? Because they get a ton of sponsors, and for their live stream, we do show their sponsors up on the screen. Like we'll say, you know, the parade was sponsored by, and so their advertising group gets, you know, like a bit on screen. So maybe what we can do is say, hey, could you maybe also offer like a little bit towards our production costs? So, but now, you know, it may be like we sit down and look at all the events that we do and say, these are good, like local events for sponsorship versus, like, you know, the municipals. And I think that would be the next step is to, if we're going to try to get municipal meetings, is maybe asking the municipals for amount of money, not necessarily getting sponsors, but the other stream would be to get money from the municipals for covering their events. So I think it would be at the same time as trying to figure out events that can get sponsors, but now also like as town meeting's done, but it seems like it's as they're thinking about budgets later on that we don't want to be right at budget time, but we could start having that conversation about to the municipals. And I feel like if Teresa, because, you know, it is part-time and only a few hours per month, that we give her as much time to get ready to hit up the municipals to say, you know, hey, we're thinking that, you know, could you either put us on the ballot or put us in your budget? And I think one of the other bits is the van folks just did a data survey, and one of the things that they collect is how many of the AMOs are actually getting money from the municipals and what are some of the contracts. So I was going to reach out to see if I can get some of their contracts to see how they're kind of phrasing it and how much they're asking for. So I thought I would start pulling some research of contracts to see what we can start asking the municipals for. But like Callis gives us $100, just they sent us a check for $100 out of the blue. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, they're willing to give us 100, but it gives like, you know, we can start having that conversation. And that would be like that second alternate revenue is to just like hit up the municipals, the sponsorships, and then like the production piece where, you know, production services, we're always trying to increase in terms of like conferences and such, but we're not actively seeking them out. We're just remembering to charge them. So that's how that piece is different. So I think that's the alternate revenue piece that we've been working on, with that.
For your thinking about how to ask them, do we have have we figured out a unit pricing in a way that so we could be able to tell them how much whatever it is that we're doing for them, what the value is, or at least what it costs us. It was one of the things that they said at the van meeting, that the town meeting TV people did, is that they didn't necessarily give them someone a line by line budget, but would say to cover this, and then they add in the cost of like healthcare, insurance, overhead, all of that sort of stuff, and it's like this is the cost, as opposed to. My first question is, do we have that? Do we have a unit pricing?
We don't, if we're thinking of like, including benefits and like, we would have to come up with a, like, divide out of how much, and I could reach out to town meeting to say, how did you come up with how much things cost?
Yeah.
And come up with, because I'm imagining it's a formula that they use, that they said, okay, benefits, we're gonna do like the entire benefit cost. We're gonna say it's 5% or however.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to reach out to them and get that, and we could do, like, we have the data to be able to create that amount.
Because what I've heard from like Montpelier Alive is that I think it's right that it would probably be a challenge to get sponsors for us to do the stream for the July 3rd thing, because everyone's fighting for they're going to be donating to that, right? They're going to be sponsoring Montpelier Alive's thing. But what Katie has said before is that what she just wants to know is, what is the amount? What is the actual amount? So if we had that unit pricing and we're able to go to her and say, this is technically what this costs that we're providing, then she could put that into the budget for next year when they do the fundraising, and then they just fundraise, and then part of that would be to pay for the production services that would so we would be in their budget, and then they would sort of fundraise for us.
And I think that's with the July 3rd, it's like we've always thought of it as an ORCA production, but maybe if we view it more of as a Montpelier Live, then it's like, okay, we've always done it, I guess, just, we hired, or we didn't hire, we got the announcer. And so I don't know if, for next year's, we have a conversation with them and say, if it's in a Montpelier Live and you're kind of funding this, what would you like the parade to look like? Because we've always done it the way we've done it and not really gotten feedback about how they would like it to be done. But that may be how we shift it so that if it's more of a Montpelier Live production, that it may make sense for them to.
And someone doesn't always have to pay the full amount.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that they kept talking about, is knowing how much the thing is the value of the thing, whether it was Town Meeting TV or it was the people at Media Factory. They had a way that they could very quickly generate a number and say, this is what the value of this is. If you're a member or whatever that is, then it's like, you don't have to pay all of that, but just so we can show you this is what the value of this is. I think it'd be very, very helpful to figure out. I had the same question as you. It's like, what percentage of the overhead? How do they do the calculation? Megan O'Rourke, I think, is the one who she seemed to very much have it worked out. I was like, oh, we should follow up with Megan. So Jen, I'm happy to send that email too.
So what would happen if we decided to put together a 1 hour show on what it's like to sponsor the arts in Montpelier in this year, and actually started interviewing sponsors about how do you do sponsorship? What does it do for your business or for your company or for your church? And just try to do a study of what sponsoring is and how valuable it is, but also how complex it is. It seems to me that just talking about, besides thanking sponsors or trying to raise them for money, to just look at the whole process and see how it exists, and sponsoring the arts, how does it get done? Who can do it and how do they do it? It seems like that would be something that would be a valuable asset to the community, and we might be able to pull it off. Just an idea.
It's an interesting idea. It could be part of like a sponsorship, is you get like a partner profile. I don't know where it would go and how it would be used, but that isn't.
So I will relay that to Teresa. I know that we're also, the other thing that she responded back to is they've been working with the bridge and how we can collaborate with them. And right now, I think the first thing is that they've been using us as screenshots for their articles. So now they're going to link us and have the video actually be in there. So, and then I know that the bridge reached out about the election season coming up. So I think a few years back, we collaborated with them. And so they're not sure if they want it to be the same, but something. So that's the next conversation of how, to do elections and whether that might have some sponsorship openings of, if we put on a show or a forum, we can look for sponsors for that local event. And I think, so it may be once that kind of gets put in, we might let Teresa know and see if we can get some sponsors. And I don't know if the bridges may be doing it, and maybe we just like coordinate with them and split some of the sponsorship money that they might already pull. And then we could just be like, we'll just do your media, your AV for you. And you just kind of give us a portion of, whatever you might be able to afford for us to do your AV. And so it may look like that. So that's, I think, coming up in terms of the alternate revenue of like that collaboration with the bridge.
And again, it would be like to be able to give them a number. It's like, this is the value of that. Not that you have to fork out the entire thing, but the other thing that alternative revenue that I will send over my notes. I promise. I keep telling you I'm going to do that. But the WGDR also, they mentioned to me at the band meeting, it's like, hey, if you guys want to get for both of us to partner in getting sponsors and like maybe they get on the radio and they get on ORCA, that they were very interested in that idea too.
Okay. So yeah, so I think on that, in terms of the proof of concept for the sponsorship, I think we got a sponsor. We didn't get a lot. And I think we know, like, we do need to try to get as much lead time in as possible for Teresa to be able to, I guess, to reach out to folks. So I think on that end, it's doable. I mean, it's hard to, like, we don't have a very big data set of like, did it work that we got one sponsor, but, did they just do it because Sarducci sponsors a bunch of stuff? And so could we necessarily replicate that with other businesses? I don't know if we've got that proof of concept down that we could say, what we did now, we could do with other businesses and we'd get sponsors. So
do you have something like targeted on like calendar wise of like the next thing that you're going to try and like build a new thing?
So I guess the next bit would be like the Halloween parade, like that we do, the Halloween show that we do, we could get sponsors. I don't know that we have any other, like the elections would be something that we possibly could, but nothing that's like, I think, yeah, we'll have to brainstorm to try to figure out what might be a good.
Like the governor's press conference gets quite a few views.
Yeah, but I thought we were maybe like holding off on the State House stuff. Because I mean, like, so we'll brainstorm to see what events might be that we regularly do. And I don't know if, because it seems like a lot of ours, we don't actually do a lot. ORCA doesn't do a lot of productions. Like it's just like the Halloween parade and the July 3rd and the grad. But everything else is something that another an organizer is putting on. That so it would be a collaboration with that organizer to try to get sponsors. So it's like, I think that's where it's kind of hard. Like the municipal meetings are very easy because like that's, we cover those. And so in like the school board meetings and the school concerts and sports. But anything else, like it's always because of the organizers asking us. So I don't know how to like it'd always be a collaboration. It wouldn't be a straight sponsorship type thing. So it may be that the next bits are sports that we try to get sponsors for.
Or you had some, I know that the Halloween parade definitely had a lot of viewership,
Mhm,
a ton of viewership, right? I remember from the annual meeting report.
mhm. So, but yeah, we'll pull together, try to brainstorm some, and I'll also talk to Teresa with, like, show up with a list of these are the things that we're thinking of, and whether she can give us some also guidelines or helpful hints about, like, yeah, that's gonna be hard, or that's easy, or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I don't know that we have enough data for the proof of concept, and we'll keep going to try to get more. And I think my understanding of the municipal meetings, we were going to hold off until we felt comfortable with the sponsorship before trying to get sponsors for the municipal meetings and regional, like the regional coverage of sponsorship, right? So that's what I thought. So, but if that's different, then we can try to do it.
There were definitely some concerns raised, right? Michael, I think, had some concerns around the municipals and.
Yeah, Pat did, Carlos did.
Mhm.
I think
So I think that's right.
decoupling a single name from that seemed to be the way to get around it, is what I recall. And, yeah, I think Jen, you had you were gonna check in with maybe Brattleboro and a couple
So
entities that do it different ways and why they do it different ways.
yeah, I do have I noticed on the minutes that one of the things that I was gonna research was, like, to reach out to those that did spots to see if they chose to do the 30-minute or 30-second spots instead of the sponsorships. So like Media Factory does like the spots, and if they chose to do the spots because of legal regulatory reasons versus like doing it like municipal, like the municipal coverage of like how Brattleboro did all municipals being sponsored. So I do have that on my list. I didn't get to reaching out to them about why they chose to do spots versus not spots.
No problem. Time check, 7:55.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so we should move along to, is there anything else for the circles update, or is that sort of encompassed in that? Are there circles that need support, more people? I think I'd wondered before about the policies circle.
I think Pat joined the policy circle, and I think the policy circle kind of is on, like, I've been, just because the alternate revenue, we're trying to get that ramped up. So I've been kind of focusing on that and backburnering the employee handbook, but we also, so we haven't necessarily met with the people just because it's been all like background work. And so I think in terms of the circles for policy and outreach, but I don't know about facilities.
We haven't really met since.
Now we bring us to the financial reports.
Yeah, time for the financials.
All right. You or me, Jen? First.
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Given the time, I will try to be brisk. This is so in short, just to give a quick 5-year look, the latest financial reports we have from EJ is the end of May. So I'll just do a quick share screen. Well, maybe it would be smarter, given that these are financials, if I just read them in. So let's just start by taking a quick look at the annual view. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 1 year ago, and then a month ago, and then today. So the good news is that overall we are up. So at the end of December, let's see. So 5 years ago, we were at 311 at 0.5, 311,000.5. 3 years ago, that was down to about 298,000. I think I came in about 2.5 years ago or so, a year ago, and this is in part thanks to bringing some money over that was underperforming. maybe not underperforming, but a community national bank, they're banking and we needed the money to work. So we moved it over to Ed Jones and got it working. So a year ago, we were up from 298 to 508. And then a month ago, we were up to 557, actually 558, and we are currently sitting at 564.5. And I'll get into some work that Jen and I did today with our new financial advisor still at Edward Jones. But before I do that, I just wanted to give a look at the recent volatility in the accounts because it is informing some of the moves that I'm likely to be making in the next short period of time. And I'll get into that meeting and that'll explain a little bit more about that then. But end of December, we were sitting at 545. And we had a great January and February, ending at 561, up 16,000. March was a horrible month. We were down 24,000. And then end of April, we were back up 21,000 to 558. We're currently sitting at the end of May, I guess, again at 564.5, up about 6,000. So I had mentioned at the last meeting that our bond funds, with the exception of one bright light, were not doing well. That is related to the fact that although the interest rates that they're paying are generally in the 4.5 to 6.9%, which is pretty good. You know, if you know the rule of seven, if you invest your money at 7% in 7 years, it will double. The underlying value of the bonds themselves was declining because the interest rates were rising. That's just a normal bond thing. So they are recovering and the market is starting to appear like it's expecting interest rates to go up. I'm sorry for all of us that are in debt. I am happy for anybody that's holding something that's fed by an interest rate like us. The American funds, we have not yet executed the change that we have agreed to do. And so until we do that, I will be working with Ed Jones tomorrow and Friday to modify our investments in the American funds accounts that we are holding. I've held off doing that and left them in the ones that Mike Doyle selected because on the whole, they were increasing in general, but in reviewing their performance over the last 4 months, it is really clear that we have some that have been doing steadily really well and a couple of dogs. So we should just not be in the dogs. So that is it for the specifics. Before I get into the meeting with EJ that I pulled Jen into today, I have to say Jen is wonderful to work with, and it's been I feel a really good partnership. So if the treasurer position, she makes the treasurer position much easier, and the way she and Zach work together, in my opinion, really creates accountability. And Jen, did you finish implementing the audit suggestions? They didn't find anything wrong. They were just like, geez, for optimal governance, these might be good. And apologies for putting you on the spot. If you're not prepared to answer that, we can just stick it in new business for next time.
So I think there are systems to have like Zach review. Like, so one of the things that they wanted us to do was the Rule 8 report just got done. And before I just had filed it because that's what we did, but they recommended that Zach look over the Rule 8 before we submit it to the state. So it was like one of those of like, oh yeah, the auditors wanted us to do it.
54 pages.
And so I was like, here, Zach, here, you need to read this and review it or, be okay with it, and then we'll submit it. So it was, we are mindful of what the auditors are recommending and trying to make sure that we do those things that they want us to do.
So to get a check in the
yeah, and
we both visually.
Like, so he looks at it and so that he makes sure that when he hands it to me to deposit, that we both know this money came in and are expecting it to be on the books. So, sorry, hope that helps. So yes, we are trying to be mindful of all the recommendations that the auditors do or had.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. And we can dive into that in detail some other day that's not now, because again, there was no concern that we had a problem. It was just a matter of good governance. So I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about just the big picture markets. If anybody has counter opinions or additional information that you want to bring up, either later after the meeting, because I'll be making some decisions for us in the next couple of days, or in the meeting, feel free. I'm about to offer some opinions. I'm not speaking on behalf of ORCA. I'm just speaking as your treasurer, that's not a financial professional, trying to do the best I can. Might set up our assets with a goal of balanced growth and income. And I've tried to stay with his rationale and investment approach while bringing my own knowledge and research into it. And on the whole, that's been working, I think, adequately well. We're not knocking the ball out of the park, but that's probably not balanced growth and income. That's like, go for it. So before I get into the meeting, the concern from a super high level perspective is that the US has had a very strong economy. And the reason I'm mentioning this is, so let me back up a little bit. We have a pretty even balance now since I came in. We've increased our holdings for corporate bonds by over 100,000, and we are not currently in laddered CDs just because the CDs yield. We did that was great, and then the CD yields went down, and we moved into bonds. And then we are in these American mutual funds that are all over the place, and then we have a bunch of dividends that we just keep reinvesting. So we're looking at most heavily in these mutual funds, but we also have a substantial position in these bond funds. The reason I mention this is the war in Iran has created a situation where that's related to oil, and the stability of the U.S. economy and the stability of the U.S. dollar is related to the fact that many years ago, some genius negotiated that the dollar was going to be the reserve currency basically for the whole globe, for anybody using oil, which is everybody. I am concerned that the situation in Iran may have changed that, and the situation in Iraq, where Russia, with us holding their funds, freezing their assets, did something that nobody expected. They ended up pivoting, bringing a lot of stuff in-house, and they're such a huge country. They have 13 time zones, and they started trading with China, and BRICS emerged. And if you have not looked at BRICS, Google BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and anybody remember what the S in BRICS is?
South Africa, maybe?
Maybe. Anyway, they are an enormously potent economic bloc. So with the changes in oil, what I'm concerned about is that we're going to see the multinationals do fine. We're going to see small businesses get more hurt. We're going to see the U.S. currency become less stable, because when it's not the global reserve currency, normal things that affect all other currencies worldwide will start to affect our currency. So I've asked Edward Jones to look at, but that's also going to create some opportunities, right? So I've asked them to look at opportunities in commodities. They could be most likely something like gold or precious metals, but other commodities, things that will tend to show upside in the world like that. But we don't want to go speculate or buy bad things. So I'll keep you posted next time on what comes of that. But that we are currently in a situation where we're just in a really strange world with the current administration, and I am nervous. And so before I move on to the specifics of just trying to manage our day-to-day money in a way that's going to produce a couple of extra thousand a year, does anybody have any thoughts or opinions or guidance for me? I would be happy to hear it and listen.
Anyone have a magic 8 ball? I think we would all just sort of be guessing. I think what, like, hearing from the people at Edward Jones is going to be the thing that all of us would be most benefit from hearing. I mean, unless someone else has some financial insight that.
Yeah, they unfortunately, Jen, I got the impression that they did not disagree. Were you kind of hearing the same thing?
Yeah, I think that it was, and she wasn't agreeing or disagreeing. I think she was like, she just needed to do more research, maybe. I think I
Yeah.
got.
Absolutely. The thing that made me a little nervous is they weren't like, oh, no, you're overreacting. Everything's going to be fine. When I said, I need you to do the research and give us the best vehicles in these areas and look for opportunities that will flourish in this situation, she had not done that research, but she wasn't like, oh, everything's fine. So we'll see. We will know more by the end of the week. So anyways, now let's get back to nuts and bolts. So as we know, if you've been in the board meetings, we found that it was productive to move, that we have operating capital that comes in big chunks and sits in Community National Bank where it does not, and it just turns out they cannot provide good yields. So we have, large amounts of capital that come in quarterly from Comcast. And now, thanks to the fact that Comcast is shrinking and oddly, thanks to the natural disasters, the State House recognized our category of public educational and governmental channels as being a really key value to the community and began to support us financially through, would you say through Vangen?
Mm-hmm.
And so at the moment, we are still running a balanced budget or slightly cash flow positive. In other words, we have more income coming than we have expenditures. Also, thanks to the fact that we have two co-directors who are earning a little bit more running the company and doing a good job, but still cash flow positive above having three co-directors. So at the moment, our head is above water. We are not yet needing to touch these assets, and hopefully, they will become special projects and reserve. What we're looking at doing, and Jen wrote up a good summary. Jen, I didn't get back to you in time, but in short, we've come up with a draft plan to move the money that's not needed over the next 30 days, and we may break that into 2-week chunks just because it kind of smooths things better, into EJ, where the current CD and money market yields should produce approximately an extra $4,000 a year in income over what we are currently getting, at approximately $3,500 a year in income. I'm expecting it to actually end up being a little bit higher than that as I started to do what I looks like is going to be the money movement. But and we'll try to have a diagram for you for next time, but it's basically going to show money coming in from Comcast and from the state through Van, flowing into basically almost directly into Edward Jones, with money held back for the next basically two-week periods of operating expenses. And as soon as we've nailed down what that is, that'll become basically an automatic liquidation and transfer. So the money will work much harder. It will work, if you want percentages, if it's making 0.5% now, it'll work about 600 times harder or 600% better yield than it's currently doing on approximately $100,000 on average over the year. So probably end up being more like 140,000 on average over the year. So that should end up at current interest rates and rates of return producing about an extra 5,000 a year. So it's one more way to diversify ORCA's need for operating income, given the declining entertainment revenues coming from the cable companies. The only other thing is that this will end up creating two types of accounts. One will be the operating account that Jen in her notes labeled investment accounts, but and the only thing that we should, I think, discuss at all is on the investment accounts, the treasurer, of course, that's the stuff that I've just read you back where we have, 500 and change. Obviously the treasurer and currently the chair de facto are the two people who can work together to make transaction decisions, and obviously we can view the information. We also are going to open, or we planned my position here, and Chad, I hope you concur, is that it would be good for there to be view access to these accounts for at least one of our co-directors. And because they need to do the taxes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then and I'm inclined to be careful simply because I have been involved with two companies on their boards where you know how you have a swimming pool and somebody else's kid like climbs over your fence, climbs over your pool's fence, jumps into the pool, gets hurt, and you get sued, right? That's kind of a classic scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Well, having money in the bank when you're a charity is an attractive nuisance in kind of a similar way, only in a much less savory way, because the kid at least was having fun until they got hurt. And it's not a lawsuit. You end up with messy things happening. So I'm inclined to say that the less people think about this, other than at the board meetings, the better. But having two signatures needed for any large withdrawals on any of these accounts, whether they're on what we'll call the treasurer side or what we'll call the co-director's operating side, in my opinion, is a good idea. Having too many people and authorized to transact, regardless of the number of signatures, is a danger because it can create confusion if money goes missing. So,
what is the current setup? Is it
the current setup is there is not yet the operating account at EJ. The board had discussed that and thought it was a good idea. And so that should be created by Friday. Mark Gwynn has, gone off to be the mayor, and we have this very cool new investment person who's jumped on it. And then we'll transfer 50,000 over from CMB, and it will start working at probably about 4% yield versus 0.5% yield. That account, that new account, we think that obviously Zach and Jen should both be able to view it. And we think that the most logical, right now, obviously the treasurer should be able to view it, and the de facto person to view accounts is the chair. And then, so what we would do is we would be able to set up, I think it's going to be online view access. It's called an interested observer. And then Zach, who signs the checks, would have transact access to the new account, and Jin would have view access. And then the question is, do we want the treasurer and the chair to have transact access to the operational account? Obviously, the treasurer and the chair should have view access, but right now, if we continue with both the treasurer and the chair having transact access, now you have three people who can transact. So so right now by default, Jin's proposal is Zach, the treasurer, and the chair have transact, and she have view access. And this doesn't need to be discussion now, but my feeling is we should consider whether I should have just view or the chair should have just view on the operational account, leaving only two signatures and therefore two people to turn around and shoot at should there be something that goes wrong, which would be Zach, you, because you're going to have transact access, and then the treasurer or the chair. Not a big deal. I mean, we're a small group doing really, really well. My job is to be paranoid and look at the dark side. So that's the, so we'll have a discussion about that and let you know. But the plan right now is to create that new account, bring over any money not needed for either the next 2 weeks or the next 30 days to EJ, make it work harder. And then it will, for now, Zach will initiate the transfers back over to CMB for operating expenses. And they can automate that as soon as we really feel like we've nailed down the needs, and then it will become a more automated process. But Jen will still be able to direct, and Zach will still be able to do larger transfers with a 3-day wait period, because the harder working money, a bunch of it, some of it will go into laddered CDs, a bunch of it will go into money markets, but these are actually money market funds. So they still need to be sold, and the money needs to be transferred back over, and then it can be transferred to CNB. That's way more information than you probably really need, but that is the exact
CJ,
process that we're making.
how about, is it reasonable for you to put together, like, between you and Jen and Zach, like a suggestion, like a proposal of what the policy should be? Either the chair having view access, or only thing I could think is if someone were to be sick or something like that we have enough people who, we would be able to get things signed if needed be.
Yeah.
At the moment, the operational account, Zach will be fully authorized. But if the movement out of the account needs to be greater than $25,000, at current time, there may need to be an extra action. If he's just transferring 15,000 out every 2 weeks, then that is Zach and Jen's business, and we're not involved. Our
Yeah.
power is to look. The having an extra signature on the, or transact person on the account, which would either be the treasurer or the chair, is to provide that fallback should Zach become sick or get run over by a bus. Don't do that, Zach.
I'll try not to.
Look both ways when you cross the street.
Yeah.
But it all sounds good. I mean, I think that if we can get the account set up, and then like some sort of votable, actionable, anything we need to review for the next time we meet, if that sounds reasonable. And I think we should also open it up if anyone else has any concerns over what's been gone over, or questions. Yeah, it's a very complicated financial world we live in.
It is.
Amen. I just try not to look at my stock accounts. My policy is just assume that they're probably doing okay. If you feel like if that's good for the treasurer's report, I would love to get to Jen's portion, since we're pushing a little bit late.
Because Jen was part of almost most of that meeting. Jen, did I say anything you want to correct, clarify, or expand on?
No, I think that was it. I think that was a good representation of what was.
I don't think there's any need for a board vote on any of this. This is all sort of within the treasurer and the co-director's domain. So part of what I said, obviously, it crosses into Jen and Zach's. But it's mostly to keep the board advised. And if anybody has any advice, guidance, or concerns, now would be a great time to raise it, or send a text to me and or Jen, and we'll reach out to each other. Jen is good at tracking me down.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Yep, that ends my report. Thank you very much.
We've received the treasurer's report, and I forget what the other word is that I'm supposed to say. We've received it. We don't have to vote on it. It's there. It's been received. And for the budget, Jen.
So in terms of the financial reports for the budget versus actuals, I think we're under on almost everything year to date. The bits that were not, like the business insurance, were not, just because it goes in a big chunk, and then we tend to, in our budget, we split it out for the year. So I think we are, and then the other bit for that business insurance, I think that I may have stuck the workers' comp insurance into that business. So I think there's a miscode for the business insurance. Also, is the workers' comp is another one that gets paid in one fell swoop, and then we split, like, and so those, like, and I know that we just paid the workers' comp, so I do think it got miscoded there. Outside of that, I think we have one more pay period in the June. So the year-to-date will be like the salaries and the FICA and all that are not actually, correct, just because we have one more pay period, but we still should be under budget on those. So there's not been any other big expenses that happened that we were concerned about. The website, we do pay annually, and that just got paid. So, I mean, we're under budget, but it was expected, and we did do it right in the budget. So are there any questions? Oh, the other bit was we got our Comcast check, and it was a little bit higher than we expected. So that's why the operation cable is a little bit higher than we thought it would be, just because we did budget for a decreasing amount of cable revenue. So I don't know that cable revenue will continue to be higher than expected, or if that was just how it broke out. But so I think that's the only other bit to note it.
I had a couple of comments or questions that I put into the chat window that I will leave because I think they should go into next meeting's new business probably. But they're both a project that I think will benefit the state and small business that falls in our area. But wait, when are the elections? Because it may tie into ops. They're yeah. Yeah, I think I can wait to ask that question then. Is Van, so the only question I have is a Van question. Is this a good time to ask a Van question?
Well, I think we talked about the van. I wonder if the van question you might be in the co-director's report.
Yeah,
part.
let's hold on that. I definitely, when do you think that we'll be able to know for sure on the, because that's a pretty big, for 6,000 actuals on the business insurance, right? It's pretty, 3,000 over to know for sure whether that was miscoded or.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. That's like, whoa, 252% of the budget.
So yeah, workers' comp is about 2,000, and that would have been just paid. So that's why I do think, but I can give you the answer tomorrow when I log into the QuickBooks.
And that'll still have us over the budget though for the year, as the business insurance is more expensive.
No, it should be around like the 4.8. So if it's like so if it's minus 2,000, which is about what so we'd be at 4,079. So we're just exactly at the, and so if you were to look at the year to date for the business insurance at 4,816, that's how much it would be. So that's where year to date would be over, but if you look at the year one, we're under, like we would be just barely under or right at. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
When is the last time that we shopped for business insurance?
So the last one, I started to do it at, our business insurance starts up in March. So I had reached out and started to look at some other options because our insurance was there was some issue with one policy. So I started to look, and because we have a little bit more time, but this is the year that I'm planning to research business insurance to see if we can come up with either a better group or just because it was, I feel like we could do better, or we might look to do better.
Where is it now?
We use the Nonprofit Insurance Alliance, so it's they're the brokers, and so I think, and so we've always used an organization, like an umbrella organization, I think, to do the insurance, and so I don't know if it makes sense to hit up individual brokers to see if they might be able to offer nonprofit insurance at a different rate. So my plan is for this year, since we just went ahead and got this insurance and it felt a little bit like it was under our budget amount, but I was like, it felt expensive for what it was. So that's why I was like, okay, we have some time to start researching before the next year. So that's the plan.
Do we have any other questions regarding the budget, or is there anything else you wanted to add, Jen?
Nope, just primarily questions, happy to answer.
Jessica just popped up on there quickly. I was like, oh, Jessica has a question.
No questions on my side. It's whenever I move, my cell phone, and whenever I move one screen, I think I disappear.
Okay. All right. So if we have no other discussion, then we can accept that into the record and go on to the co-director's report.
Okay, and we might, just because we're running so late, I would say, I don't know, it's pretty much, I think we received, so the state treasurer came by and gave us a check for like $900 and something. Like we got the big check and
Yeah, I
he
got
came
a
and
big
did it for, like, they were doing a PSA for the unclaimed property department.
Yeah.
So they're trying to highlight, there's all this unclaimed money. And so we had, I think it was from the pension or like the retirement fund. So we had like a $900 in there. So he came and did that. And he also reported a PSA. So I think that was, we had it's like a TV star.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think if there's any questions about maybe what we'll do is just, if there's any questions about the co-director's report, we can answer it. Other than that, we're happy to move through.
I read it. It was very complete. Thank you.
It's like I saw all your doodling.
Yeah.
I think that we've got the next entry for the art walk. There's the Michael's.
Stay on topic and stay on time, Chad. Let's go. It's 8:30. I'm gonna have an art walk. I think this is cool.
Yeah, and there was something before that CJ had a question that we
About
said.
the van. So the budget got signed. Our amount was 1.89 million was in the budget. So we're good for FY27. At some point van will send out a distribution report of, this is how they're going to disperse the 1.89. It's really 1.8 for van, like 90 was for the community radio. This was the first year that we worked with the community radio
Is that
folks.
why GDR went to the van meeting?
Yeah.
First.
So they've been showing up for the advocacy meeting, and they were very, very helpful in meeting with like the legislators. And so that 1.89 will be, I think last year we received the check for FY26 in December. So that's kind of what I would imagine that we're going to expect to get the check in December. So, and then the other bit of van is that we talked about it in the previous meeting about the dues will be increased because they've hired a legal advisor to help with long-term revenue strategies. So I think next week Vanna's meeting, or the advocacy's meeting, to talk about the memo that she generated about different revenue options. So I'll have, I think they're going to try to decide which way, Van's going to try to decide which way they want to go. I think the memo has 3 different options. And so the conversation should be about which way, because I think 2 of them does require drafting a bill for next season. So that may be the next step. But in terms of money, we're set for this year. So
what is our representation on the van? Do we have someone who sits on their board?
No, we don't have anyone that sits on their board. I join their advocacy meeting every like every other Monday. This year was every other Monday. Generally, it's every Monday. So I attend those to try to hear what is being discussed in terms of like what their strategies, or if they also need us to go into the State House. Like those are the meetings where they discuss.
Is it possible for you, when you said they're gonna send something, is it possible to forward that on to us so we could check that out?
I didn't want to do it because it's, it's it's a confidential
yeah.
memo because of lawyer, so I didn't want to bring it up here, but I'm happy to.
Some sort of way that, yeah.
Let you know.
Yeah, that would be nice, without breaking any laws.
Okay.
And I don't know if that answered the question CJ had about about a van update, but I think that's what she was asking. Okay, where are we? We need to look at the minutes. I think we can accept the co-director's report without voting, as Pat reminded me. I believe I incorrectly had us vote for it one time. If we could check out.
Do we still have a quorum? If I actually have just hit a conflict, I'm supposed to be in a different place, so I either need to send an apologies, or if we still have a quorum.
We will have 4 when you leave, so yes.
Yes, and we just need to approve these minutes or revise the minutes, and I think we're good to go.
Okay.
And thanks for all that you are doing for keeping us fiscally afloat.
I'm trying to fill Mike Doyle's really amazing shoes.
You're doing a great
And Jen's
job.
been amazing to work with.
All right,
These
looking at the minutes.
Very clean to me.
I read them before we started, actually. I would be willing to accept a motion whenever people are ready to approve the minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see so much as a typo. I so move.
We have a move to accept the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Okay, unless there's any further discussion, then we can vote on approving the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
I
And any opposed? Excellent. The minutes are approved unanimously. Yeah, my brain is starting to frazzle. That's how you know we're hitting the 8:30 mark. And we have and now I think CJ, if you need to cut out for
Okay.
your other.
Great job, everybody. Great job, Chad. And congratulations and condolences. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
And then we have some old and new business. What do we need to touch on? I know sometimes we have stuff that just drifts around on the agendas.
I think annual meeting is just, if there's any notes or that you wanted to bring up from having it. And then Art Walk is, I think, Art Walk, if anyone has any artists that might be interested in performing their art on camera for the next Art Walk, if you could relay some, let us know the names. I think we generally start now to reach out to try to get someone. And I don't know that we have necessarily, I think, ready in the background. So,
but you have one for the next meeting or the next Art Walk. Right?
I don't know that we do.
I thought I read that in the. We
had an Art Walk, and that was Jan. And
I thought that you said you had someone for the next one lined
up.
I saw that in the director's report.
Okay, so yes. So I just need to touch base with Annika about who that artist is. I didn't know that we had one in place. I think, and if there's other, we like to keep them in the pool.
Oh, yeah.
So relay as artists if you know of any.
Seems good.
And I think that was it on that. I don't know if there was any stuff that we wanted to pull from annual meeting.
Anyone?
On board members, I ran into Rob Chapman. He is now a Montpelier again.
Yeah.
Saw
I
that.
don't know if he would make a lot of sense as a board member, but
That's an interesting idea. That's right.
could ask him.
He came in 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did he? Yeah, he's directing another nonprofit in town.
The Mitzvah Fund.
There it is,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
just if we're brainstorming names,
Mhm.
he's got a storied career in public media and knows the lay of the land. It'd be great to get our Waterbury member was so strong.
Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel. But just thinking about the geographic breadth.
Mhm.
That's all I got on that one.
Okay.
But we do have a nice odd number right now. It's not pressing to grow, but it'd be nice to grow.
Yeah, it's always nice to have that little bit of buffer
Mhm.
to reach quorum.
Yeah, we were a little tight tonight.
Yeah.
So, unless we have anything else,
Next meeting?
Yeah, oh, yes, that's important.
August, so the fourth Tuesday is the 25th of August. So we start like summer vacation and such, and maybe beginning of school since I think that's oftentimes what happens with August, the August board meeting. So I don't know if we need to adjust that date. When does school start?
After that happened
It's
last
usually
year.
that Wednesday, the last Wednesday of August.
Yeah, it's the last Wednesday of August.
So do we want to do that Tuesday before, or would you rather switch a date so that for this prep, and is that too close to beginning of school to try to do a board meeting the night before?
I would like to switch the date. It's hard. That week is hard for.
So maybe August 18th, the week before?
I'm not available then.
Okay. So August 11th, I think generally, CJ has a conflict because she has another board meeting on the second Tuesday, but
I would have to double check my availability. I'm either going to be out of town the week of the 18th or the week of the 11th. I'm not positive which.
Let's just sit with our fourth. It's the night before school starts.
the 25th? Okay. So if we leave it on the 25th, and maybe if something else happens, I guess, we could always reschedule. And are there other, I guess maybe, and this could be offline, and so we'll keep it on the 25th, but if there's other days, like if we come into this, I don't know if it makes sense to pool to see if there's other days that might work, if we ever need to bring that in, but.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the 25th unfortunately is the best day for me. August is pretty busy. It's a little bit easier to do later than earlier.
Like in September?
September, if we need to push till then, might be easier. I think that, like Michael said, maybe we just leave it the day it is. Even though that's definitely a painful day before school starting day.
I mean, it's not so bad if you're remote.
It's true.
People want to do the drive the night before.
Okay.
Man,
It's good to leave with a date as opposed to a pending.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Yeah, then we'll end up like, yeah, on the 25th thing. Oh, wait, we never chose. So why don't we leave it as that? If that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, like June, the summer months, it's tricky to get a quorum, so just make sure we get our 4. Having your availability as chair is key.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your best date.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, the other 2 weeks are potential vacation, which I've not taken in years. So I've been told not to schedule anything. Okay, if we feel good there, then feel like we can go. I don't need to vote to adjourn, do I?
You just slam down the gas.
8:44. We'll call it adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for making it tonight.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
for sharing.